Hey guys, I'm Chef Z, and on today's episode of Made to Order a la Orden, we are making Dominican style lasagna because, yes, Dominicans and other Caribbean Hispanics make lasagna completely differently than that tried and true delicious Italian version. Now, shout out to all the aunts, the cousins, and the sisters out there because we all have that one person in our family that just hands down kills lasagna every holiday season. So let me know how you make your lasagna because I love learning new tips and tricks. Now, in order to make my lasagna, you are going to need some carne molida or picadillo, whatever you call it, and I have that video already up here on my channel. Now, I do get a lot of questions when it comes to that recipe, and that's because I make a point to say that you want to tenderize your ground beef. Me personally, and this is completely personal, I just hate chewy ground beef. So I always add a lot of water, let it simmer, then let it dry out, and then add some more water again. And I repeat that whole process a few times until I get it to the texture that I want, which is that melt in your mouth, super delicious. And that can take me, honestly, depending on the ground beef, that can take me anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Now, another thing that I use in this recipe is my homemade tomato basil sauce. And I have that recipe also here up on my channel. But that's not to say that you have to have homemade sauce. In fact, you can use jar sauce to make this lasagna and it will be just as delicious. I just encourage you to use a brand that you love or a brand that is fairly natural and has little to no additives. And last but not least, my lasagna has a secret ingredient that just knocks it out of the park. So if you want to learn what that ingredient is, then just keep watching. We're going to kick things off by boiling our lasagna, and that's really easy to do. You simply want to boil some water, add some salt and some oil, and then add your pasta. Now, do keep in mind the kind of pasta that you are making because on the box, it'll actually tell you how long to cook it for so that your lasagna comes out perfectly al dente. And I personally like to undercook it by just a few minutes just because I like a really hearty al dente pasta, and this will bake in the oven later on so it'll continue to cook and soften. We're going to prepare our ricotta cheese by adding some eggs, some oregano, some garlic powder, some onion powder, some adobo, some black pepper, and some ricotta cheese. We're now going to mix that all together until it's nice and well combined. And the ricotta cheese is going to make our lasagna really nice and creamy, and it's actually my favorite part of the whole entire dish. So once that's ready, we're going to set that off to the side, and now we're going to start building our lasagna. So I take some tomato basil marinara sauce and I spread it all over the bottom of the pan until it's practically all covered. And then we're going to take some lasagna pasta and we're actually going to layer it right at the bottom. Now, if they overlap just a little bit, that's totally fine. Now, there's a million and one ways of building a lasagna, so comment down below and let me know how you like to build yours. I like to take some ricotta cheese, just a little bit, and then I smear it all over the bottom until it's practically covered. But again, I'm only taking just a little bit, and then I take my carne molida and I spread that all over as well. Now, funny enough, I swear there's like two different camps of people when it comes to lasagna. You have people who like thin layers, but lots of layers. And then you have other people who like thick layers, but not that many. Me personally, I'm like somewhere in the middle. I like medium layers that are super creamy and super saucy. Comment down below and let me know which camp you're in, and let me know how you like to build your lasagna. So now I also like to take a little bit more tomato basil marinara sauce and I like to add it. Because remember guys, I was not kidding when I said I like a saucy, creamy lasagna. And now my secret ingredient is some fresh basil, which I've cut into some ribbons. And when I tell you guys that this makes all the difference, like I'm not even kidding, my guests and my family went crazy when I actually changed up the recipe and added this to the point where now all of my lasagnas have to have that fresh basil. I then add just a little bit of mozzarella cheese and I continue on to building my next layer, which again is my favorite layer because it's the layer with the ricotta cheese. Now, this layer does not have to be perfect, but I am a little bit on the anal side. So I take an off-angled spatula and I just very carefully spread it just so that my layer is super like evenly spread and perfect. But if you don't have this spatula, that's fine. You can honestly use the back of a spoon. So I repeat the first layer again with the meat and the cheese, and now we're building the very top layer. So I add the pasta and then I add a good serving of tomato basil marinara sauce, and then I go ahead and add a whole bunch of cheese because I love a cheesy top layer of lasagna. Like, that's how you know it's going to be a good day. I then add some more basil, and of course I top it all off with some more Parmesan cheese, and I essentially kind of cover any peeking tomato sauce that's kind of peeking through, because you don't want the tomato sauce to kind of dry out when you put it in the oven. So once that's done, we're actually going to bake this beautiful dish in the oven at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes, or until the cheese has become nice and melted. Once the cheese has actually melted all the way, I do like to increase the temperature to about 425, and I keep a very close eye on it because all I'm doing here is just making sure that the cheese becomes nice and golden brown, but that's totally optional. Now, once your lasagna is cooked and ready to go, you do want to let it sit for a few minutes, like about 20 to 30 minutes before you actually cut into it. Now, I'm very impatient and I can almost hardly ever wait, so I just go ahead and dig right into it. So there you guys have it, my recipe for lasagna. Let me know down below how you build yours. I can't wait to see you guys next week with an all new video. Happy holidays, guys, y buen provecho.